All right, we are live. Welcome everyone to the Quantum Zen Online first live stream Dharma talk. So some of you know that the Quantum Zen Online Sangha created a new YouTube channel where we're going to feature videos from teachers that are teaching with the online Sangha. Also got a lot of ideas lately. I was talking to Zen Master Song Hyung yesterday, and we had this idea of interviewing her. So maybe interviewing teachers in the future. Today, we're going to have a live Dharma talk. So you'll see Dharma talks in the future as well, which will be live like this. And obviously, they're recorded. So for those who can't be here right now, can watch the recording. So I want to welcome everyone to our first live stream. First, I just want to see who's in the chat here. We have Cesare, of course. He's always very early, too. Not just like 5 or 10 minutes early. This is 40 minutes ago. Cesare said, hello, everyone. I hope to be on time. I have lunch in a minute. Okay. Hopefully we'll see you. Michael's here. Michael says, hello, Cesare. Welcome. Michael, today's your birthday. Happy birthday. I guess this will be your gift. Hopefully you'll like it. Let's see. Camille's here. Hello. Obviously, if you're in the chat, let us know where you are living and say hello. Matt's here. Hey, Matt. Good to see you. Matt says hello. And Camille says, such a great idea. Good. Also, let us know if you're practicing with the Quantum Zen Online, just out of curiosity. I'm not sure. We had a bunch of people subscribe to our channel in the last week or two, and I don't know who these people are. Some of them are practicing in the online Sangha. And if you're not practicing, just let us know where you're coming from, or if you're practicing with another group or different tradition. Charles is here. Charles says hello. Camille is from Poland, Warsaw. Awesome. Good. Welcome, everyone. So how is this going to work today? Oh, hey, Hanger. He's not used to people calling him that, but I remember him as Hanger. Hello from Seattle. Good to see you. I'm glad you're here. So the way this talk will work is we're going to have an opening talk, and that's going to be given by John Sweet, who practices with the online Sangha. He'll say a few words, and then we can open up to questions and answers. So if you have any kind of questions about John's talk, your practice, meditation, Zen, life, any kind of question, you can go ahead and put it into chat. And you can do that at any time, too, if you want to, if something's on your mind now and you don't want to forget. Cosmic Carl says, hi from South Hadley, Massachusetts. Latest here from Massachusetts, 130519550VB. Hello. From Israel. Good. So let me introduce John. Some of you probably are familiar with John. John, when did you start, let's see, maybe first, when did you start practicing meditation?
Oh, that was probably 2019, 2024, 5 years ago.
Okay. And it was right with the online Sangha, or did you find the online Sangha?
When you asked me to do this, that's what I immediately thought of. It's a flashback because I actually started practicing when you were streaming from Empty Gate on their YouTube channel.
Wow. Okay.
So, a bunch of reading and a bunch of looking into it like that, but then actual starting to practice was the live stream. And then, joining the online Sangha, Zoom and COVID all happened in like that within about 15 minutes of each other. Mm-hmm. And, the world changed again.
Right. Good. So, well, John is also in our Dharma teacher and training program too. So he's going to be doing that for quite a while, and also offering the online Sangha some help, because we can definitely use it. Again, welcome everyone to the live Dharma talk. Again, let us know in the chat where you are living. And again, if you have any questions about Zen, meditation, your practice, anything that comes up from John's talk, just let us know. I'll hand it over to you, John. Thank you for doing this, by the way, and being the first one to do this.
Well, you'll set the bar low and we'll go up from there.
Good.
I'll say a shout out to Cesare because he is my Dharma brother. We did take the 5 precepts together in 21, I think it was. And then I took the 10 precepts this last October. And it's weird. It's the situation just like talking with Jason about this online streaming that I used to practice, how I started practicing. I didn't realize he could see everybody because, I can't actually see all of you. But it just, how it changed, how it turned into what's happening with me now. And with the practice itself, it's like when you first start to practice, it's tough. And you're thinking to yourself, is this really going to go anywhere? Am I really going to do anything with this? But you just show up. You just show up and you do it. And eventually, when you miss practice, you really notice. It's like I didn't floss and brush this morning, and I can tell all day. And a big part of that is the online Sangha for me. I realize there's a difference between people who can get to a physical center and practice with other people in person. But my situation doesn't allow that. And so the online Sangha has been there for me. And the online Sangha, you do your practicing, you're listening to your Dharma talks, you do your readings, and you hear about the one thing, and one thing that everybody has, and then you're online with the online Sangha, and you see that you're all over the world. And you really are that thing that it's described as emptiness. It doesn't really have a shape or a form. And when you start looking back and you ask questions and you go back and you go back and you go back and you run up against that, and then you don't get scared of it, you stay with it. Just the understanding of your life, when you realize that it's not you. The only thing that I Me Mine ever did for you was give you a good George Harrison song. It's where the what is it? Greed, anger, and ignorance, the three poisons, live in I Me Mine. And so the further away you can get from those, you can see that difference, you can feel it. But it doesn't mean that they're not going to come back on you all the time, because that's why we call it practice. It's like a retreat. The way a retreat can really be like taking a squeegee. I wear glasses. A lot of us wear glasses. And at the end of the day, you're sitting there, you're thinking, well, something looks funny. And you take your glasses off and there's just things all over your glasses. There's like, there's oil, there's fingerprints, there's dust. And you don't notice it as the day goes on. But when you take out your microfiber and clean your glasses, everything is clear. And sitting in the practice does that. And I think that's important, especially for times like now. Like here in this country, we just had a big contest. And there's a lot of motion on each side about what the outcome was going to be and how it was going to change things. Then the Dodgers won the World Series in 6 games. The world went on about its way. But just like we're told, we have to get away from that holding on to the I, me, and mine. We live in a society and a world that tells you just the opposite of that a lot of times. It's all about you. It's what you want. It's what you need. And you don't know that, but happily, we do know, and we'll tell you. And getting away from that is pretty important, because after the Dodgers did win the World Series, not much changed, just some names. Anyway, I hear people all the time, they're talking about how they're afraid right now. And I've had people tell me that they don't understand what's going on, or they don't understand because there's nothing really to understand there. That's really all made up. It's like somebody's going to open their boiled egg on the wrong end. Somebody else is going to take umbrage to it. They're going to put a process in motion that can't be stopped. And 72 minutes later, ICBMs are going to settle Fermi's dilemma once and for all. And that could happen at any time, but at the same time, it's not happening right now. And it always reminds me of a story I read about Zen Master Sung Song taking questions. The last one of the earlier times when the Cold War flared up, and a practitioner asked him, he was afraid that one of those missiles was going to hit Hartford. And what was he supposed to do? And Zen Master Sung Song said, you should die. And the student said, die? That's all you've got for me? And he said, if you can't die when a nuclear bomb hits you, when can you die? And that's just really, when I first read that, that really hit my mind. And then I was told by somebody who was there, and he said, the next thing he said was, what you should do is go outside and embrace it. Because that's your greed, your anger, and your ignorance. You made that. And that's what I think is important about this practice and the Sangha, really, because I feel like this is an antidote to that. If I didn't, I wouldn't do it. And I've noticed a difference in me. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say my practice has turned me into the ideal person, but, you know, there's so many times now when you catch yourself and you think, boy, I was that close to really stepping over that cliff when I didn't really need to. And you stop painting legs on snakes. And that saying is another one of those Zen sayings that you hear. But the more you practice, the more you see it. I just like also to say that it sounds tough, but when I first started out, my teacher, who's that guy, he told me the only thing you need to really think about when you're starting out is, what am I doing right now and how can I help? And for me, I've been doing that. That's, you're in traffic and you're sitting there thinking, boy, I could really use a rocket launcher about now. And then, what am I doing right now? How can I help? Where am I? Why am I thinking about? And it just changes. Everything goes back. It allows you. Of course, the phrase "skip jumps out on a primary point." Of course, that's a primary point cheat for me. I know a lot of people might use mantras, or cheat's not the right word, but shortcut, bookmark, boom, okay. And I can't tell you how many times I can feel that anger welling up and all. And I go, what am I doing right now? How can I help? And it's just like drops it back down. It's like when you're in the middle of a retreat. And when I was younger, worked in a grocery store, we had something called Muzak that played over the PA system. It was pop hits and country music hits that you might hear on the radio, but it was done by just awful bands. It was just something to be in the background. And if you listen to it all the time, it made you crazy just because it was horrendous. It was supposed to be that way. But if you just let it play on in the background, it was okay. It was just there. It just happened. That's what happens for me a lot on retreats, and being able to bring that away from retreats and put it into daily practice, and then getting to the point where the practice gets up off the cushion with you and starts following you around through the day has been a big help for me. it's also being part of the online Sangha. It's just always there too, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the world is round. You got a lot of different time zones in it. And you do see, like I said before, you do see everybody's different, but you do see that commonality that everybody has. I like to think of it as you see these waterfalls. They shoot off a mountain, and you've got millions, billions of individual droplets flying through the sky, going to the pool below. And sometimes I think that's what we're like, you know. We're just a river flowing along, minding our own business. We're water, and then boom, we're an individual droplet, and we fall forever. And then physicists tell you that when you fall, and if you fall far enough, it feels like time stops. And then you're back in the pool at the bottom. And you're all looking around saying, "Was that me? Did you feel that?" And I think the practice helps us be in contact with the fact that we're all still water. You know, the universe seems like it's chaotic and it's going crazy and all, but it's just cooling off from the Big Bang. Sort of like a larger slow motion example of firewood being turned into ash. And I don't know what's in the future. I don't know what's going to happen after I die, really. I'd like to think that people who care about me will miss me, but we'll see. Somebody will see. But I think it's an impression that we make on the universe. And I think that's how we affect the universe. Because it's silly to think you're separate from it. You're just as much a part of the universe as the largest black hole and the largest largest galaxy. And at the same time, you're part of the river. You've just fallen over the cliff. And you're something else for a little while. Everything in the universe is becoming something else as fast as the process will allow. Anyway, I could ramble on for a long time, but I think I'll stop and let Jason try to make sense out of that or ask any questions. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your practice. And Quinn Sambo Sol, everybody.
Thank you, John. Very sincere talk. There are a couple other people in the chat I just want to acknowledge. Varda from Israel. It's good to see you again, Varda. It's been a while. Camille said you have a question about mining of the I'm guessing precepts. Did you mean the 5 precepts? If you have a question about the precepts, let me know. 2 Stream Zen Temples. Oh, from Portugal. Connected with Quantum School of Zen at the 2 Streams. Okay, in the Japanese Soto Zen School. Had a birthday Sunday. And joining with Michael. Happy birthday! Robert's here. Hey, Robert. Good to see you. Michael? I believe that's Michael. Lynn's here. Lynn said, thank you, John. Kwanzaa Bolsa. Michael also says, thank you, John. I can see you practice very hard. Michael did ask something, John, about...
Oh, happy birthday, Michael. I don't think I said that
yet. Let's see. John is asking you, or sorry, Michael's asking you, John, did you take the precepts online? Is it recorded? And how does the ceremony go?
Yeah, Michael, all my practice is online. I'm in Oklahoma City, and the closest Zen center is about 7 hours away from me. And I'm not really in a position or situation right now where I can be gone a lot. So all of my practice has been online. Like I was telling Jason when we started, when I started practicing, Jason was live streaming practice once or twice a week on the Empty Gate Zen Center YouTube channel. And about the time I joined the online Sangha, Zoom came out, which changed everything. And then COVID hit. So the online Sangha just blew up once COVID hit. But anyway, the I've watched precept ceremonies that have been in in Zen in centers, and I would say that the difference is the same difference as being online. I mean, a lot of the same things are done. It's just there's some variation because we're not in the same place. We're all over the world.
So did yeah, I was going to say you probably never been to an in-person precept ceremony, so really nothing to compare it to.
I've seen, live stream precept ceremonies from.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's amazing. Just having this opportunity to do precepts online now. The online Sangha, when you mentioned Empty Gate Zen Center streaming the practice, I just remembered how all of this started to begin with. I believe it was in 2009 when I moved to Empty Gate Zen Center, right from Providence Zen Center. I was still a monk at the time. We started a Facebook page and a YouTube channel for the Zen Center. And I heard about streaming, but I wasn't quite sure what it meant. But streaming was becoming something that people were doing, and I was kind of interested in. And I think it happened organically because what I remember is Mac James. I have this name in my head right now, who also practices with the Quantum School of Zen. But he was living in, I think it was Panama at the time or Ecuador. And he didn't have any support for practice. So I remember one morning when I was at the Zen Center in Empty Gate, I thought, you know what, maybe, do you remember Skype? I think people used to Skype too back then. You're talking about Zoom, but even before Zoom, we had Skype. So I invited him to join me for practice. So we practiced together because he didn't have any Zen Center, anyone to connect with. And if you practice by yourself, it's very challenging. So him and I don't remember what we did. We might have done some chanting and some sitting together. And then let's see, later, my wife, who is now my wife, at the time she wasn't, but Kendra was also living in Venezuela. And this is right after coming out of living at the Cambridge Zen Center for 5 years. So she was always used to community and having that support for practice. And it was kind of similar. I said, hey, do you want to join me for practice? And I believe we did the morning bell chant. We did some sitting. Then I started thinking, how many people around the world are in these kinds of situations where they're by themselves and have no community, no one to connect with. And this is where the idea of streaming came. So when I was doing Sunday morning practice at Empty Gate, nobody came to the Zen Center. I think one person would come. And I was like, I wonder if I could stream this, but I didn't know how. And I think back then there was something called WeStream. I don't know if that company is still around, but I think it was called WeStream. And we signed up with them and started streaming the Sunday morning practice. Then eventually we started streaming Wednesday talks with Master Bong San. And then later, I guess the buzz got around that I was, Empty Gate was doing this kind of streaming practice and the talks. And then I was, I think not too much longer, maybe a couple of years later, where Kathy Park, Jito Popsanim, and Zen Master Song Hyung was talking about an international initiative, kind of like bringing the school together and offering different things around the world for people. And one of them, one aspect was the online streaming. And I just remember, now that John said that, I remember that, yeah, Empty Gate, we used to stream Thursday morning practice on YouTube. And then eventually it became part of the Quantum Zen Online Sangha. So, and there's people who've been around since then doing this. John is one of them.
Well, it's not just you've got Quantum Online too. A lot of centers are still doing hybrid practice where they're in person again, but because it went off like it did during COVID, you know, they're still doing hybrid because they can
Yeah.
have.
Well, that was the interesting thing. So before COVID, we had this online Sangha.
Yeah.
And I was trying to encourage, I'm not going to mention any names, but some of the larger Zen centers to stream their practice. No, we can't do it. Either they didn't have the people, they didn't have the right internet, they didn't have any cameras, or whatever it was. They refused. And then, of course, the pandemic hit, right? COVID hit. Now everyone is closed, right? There's no in-person practice. And all of a
Right.
sudden, people started streaming stuff. Like all of a sudden it started happening, which was great, you know, because they were trying to connect with their sanghas. Some of the smaller centers didn't have that option, so we helped them kind of with the technical side of it and supported them for online streaming. But I think what happened after the pandemic is that, and I'm just thinking of Empty Gate, the Zen Center, is we connected with a lot of people around the world.
Yeah.
And they just kind of, you know, found their sangha, and so Empty Gate, along with many other centers, have continued to do live stream, which I think is wonderful. So there's a lot of options out there, you know, and it's not only what I found too. It's not only people who are in remote locations like John is, who doesn't have quantum support locally. There was people in different situations. You know, some people had some physical condition that didn't allow them to go to the Zen Center. Some people were working like 3 jobs. They couldn't make the Zen Center practice times and things like that. So we've noticed that more people were able to take advantage of the online Sangha, which was really the whole point, I think, of all of this. So let's see. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. So Michael, likewise, I have not been to an online ceremony to compare. Thank you for the practice. My curiosity comes from that I'm considering more precepts and want to participate more in the online school. Cool. Yeah, there's a lot of options for you, Michael. Just because you also practice with the New York Sangha. I know you've been to the Providence Zen Center before, and obviously you practice with the online Sangha. So you can take precepts with the online Sangha. You can also take precepts at the Providence Zen Center. So they have ceremonies 3 times a year, and it usually follows one of the big weekends. So there's a Buddha's birthday weekend in the spring. There's the Founders Day in the summer, and Buddha's Enlightenment Day ceremony in December. And they have precept ceremonies. And again, it's for usually centers who are not able to do their own precept ceremonies, so people can go to Providence and take that. I believe, I'm not sure if New York does their precept ceremonies there. They might come to Providence as well. I don't know for sure. Anyways, Michael, yeah, it's something definitely to consider, and there's the possibilities. And you've got the requirements. There's not much, but you definitely have that opportunity. Let's see, Camille, my question was about the meaning of the 6th precept. I vow not to talk about the faults of others. So John knows this one. Some people are familiar with the basic 5 precepts, but if you're taking the 10 precepts, like in the Quantum School of Zen, this is the 6th one, which if you look at this, it's very important. There's a Kongan from our Kongan book, The Whole World's a Single Flower. Human beings have 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, but only 1 mouth. Why only 1 mouth? So the question is, why do you have 1 mouth? This mouth can do many different things. This mouth can eat, and this mouth can talk. But what kind of talk is coming out of this mouth? I think a lot of us are kind of running on automatic pilot, kind of like robots. Our mouth is just yapping away, and we don't even realize what's coming out of it. We're not paying attention to it. So this precepts is important because we're always checking. Either we're checking ourselves. Now, checking is kind of like this thinking of, oh, I'm not good enough. How could this happen to me? and checking other people, we do it all the time. That person, they're so bad. And that person, we're always pointing the finger outward. Many of the times, too, we're blaming our own suffering just by pointing the finger. Now, sometimes there is a direct connection to that. But it's like my grandma said one time. You have one finger pointing out, but you have three fingers pointing back in. What that means is taking a look inside, really paying attention to what we're doing. So this last Sunday, we had a precept ceremony, an opening. Oh, John, you turned purple. That's kind of sweet. It's a little special effect.
Little yellow submarine.
Hey, that's okay. Well, psychedelics are okay over here. We had our Heart Kilche opening ceremony, and I'm reminded of this teaching about cause and effect. Because usually what happens in our life is something happens, some kind of experience like anger or sadness, even happiness, doesn't matter what it is. And we don't know how that appeared. Because a lot of the times we're not paying attention to cause and effect. So the way this teaching is presented is pay attention to your thoughts. Now, how many of us do that? I guess if you've been sitting for a while, there's no way out of it. You see them, like it or not. But it's very important. Pay attention to your thoughts because your thoughts become words. Pay attention to your words because your words become actions. Pay attention to your actions because actions become habits. Pay attention to your habits because your habits becomes character. Me, I, Jason. Pay attention to your character because your character becomes destiny. Sometimes you heard this word fate. In Buddhism, we call it karma. So like I said, usually there's this result, but we didn't pay attention to this whole chain of cause and effect. And if you look at suffering in this world, it's because of this. We're not paying attention to our thoughts. We're not paying attention to our words. We're not paying attention to our actions, our habits. John already said, we separate ourselves from the rest of the world as I, my, me. This is the definition of ignorance. In Buddhism, ignorance is the cause of suffering. Not seeing the truth of this moment. So in Zen practice, we're not just paying attention to our breath, but we're paying attention to everything in this moment. And even if you're paying attention to your thoughts, what's before that? What's before thinking? So this mouth is really important to pay attention to, because if you look around, people are not very kind to each other. And a lot of this is because we don't understand this character. We don't understand this I. We think that our conditioning, our mental habits is this I. But what if you take those away? Then what? So Zen really points to investigating this. What is the source of the suffering? What is the source of this I? Where does this I come from? So if you look at the Eightfold Path, speech is very important here because our speech can cause so much suffering. So these precept is making a vow to pay attention to the words coming out of this mouth. Is opening our mouth even necessary in this moment? And if we are opening our mouth, who is it serving? What is the purpose? Is it just for me? Or is it for all beings, which includes me? Because I'm not separate from all beings. So that's one thing I appreciate about our practice too, is we have these precepts and they're just guides. Actually, Zen Master Sung Song said the precepts are not even necessary. But since we don't understand ourself, our true self, then we follow these precepts, meaning we use them as a guide to pay attention and to help this world. All right. Cosmic Carl says, thank you, John. How is touching of incense used with the precepts online? Yeah, this has been a trick. So if you go to our in-person precept ceremonies, there's a part of the ceremony where they, usually it's the senior Dharma teacher who lights some incense and shake out the flame. And then we take the incense and we put it on the left arm of the person taking precepts. So it's a symbol. So in the precept ceremony, says that our karma has no self-nature, but is created by our mind. If our mind is extinguished, our karma too will be extinguished. When we see both mind and karma as empty, this is true repentance. Can't believe I remembered that. But that's how the teaching goes. So once the incense touches the arm, then boom, we awaken, and we wake up from our mind, our karma, our likes and dislikes, our strong opinions, our strong views. We wake up to the truth of this moment, which is our true self. So when we did our first online precept ceremony, we didn't have people to obviously use the incense for the preceptees. So Zen Master Song Hyang had everyone who was online taking the precepts pinch themselves really hard. So it's kind of the same purpose, same bone. Some people now, I believe, if they're comfortable with it, will take the incense themselves and touch their arm. I don't think it's that important if it happens or not. Really, the most important is the teaching behind it of repentance and how we can use that to wake up. Oh, sorry about that. All right, let me get back on here. There we go. There's always something happen in the online world, and this is one of the things we have to deal with. Okay, let's see. Robert, amazing. The online practice is really working for people. Yeah, for some people, they don't connect with it. They're actually in a very good situation where they have a Zen center near them or close by, and they can visit. So it's not really important to them. Some people are finding too, even if they live near a Zen center and practicing with their local center, they're finding a lot of other benefits from the online Sangha. Obviously, we offer the 360 study series and different workshops and things like that. So people have been using it for extra support. Some people too, their guiding teacher are not able to give interviews, Koan interviews. Someone I know only sees their guiding teacher twice a year in person. So the online Sangha is another support too, where they can connect with teachers and stuff. So yeah, it's working for many different people, and some people don't connect with it, and that's fine. Class. Hi, John. Hi, Jason. Hi, all. Nice to be in such a wonderful Sangha. My question: I live in Austria, and these days we get here a right-wing extreme government. Like overall in the world, that's happening now here as well. Painful to watch, hard to digest, hard to live with. Makes me so angry, worried, and confused. Do you have any advice? Thanks. Yeah, it's hard to see for me, and really, it's not even getting into different sides. My teacher once said that in a war, we think there are two sides, us and them, or the good guys and the bad guys. But there is only one side to a war, only one, and that side is suffering. So I really think that needs to be investigated, because if we're caught up into our own opinions, our own likes and dislikes, every human being has that. And who's correct? Who says one's right and one's wrong? Yeah, we decide what's right and what's wrong. So as we can see, it has no end. It's a cycle that never ends. It's two people just crashing into each other. And the Buddha really pointed that out as well. When he realized his own enlightenment, two things became very clear. First of all human beings have enlightened nature. It's not just certain people. It's not, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't even matter what religion you believe in. What your ideas or opinions are. Doesn't matter the color of your skin. Doesn't matter if you're rich or poor, young or old. Everyone has enlightened nature. But, there's always a but, we don't understand ourselves. We created this delusion of self. The self separates everything into opposites. If there's an I, there has to be a you. That's the opposite world. I, you, us, them, good, bad, right, wrong. Notice how I'm pointing. You're wrong. I'm right. You're bad. I'm good. So a first step is to understand our true self, which is before this concept of I. Because if we really investigate sincerely, where does I come from? Thinking? Where does thinking come from? Mind? Where does mind come from? Consciousness? Where does consciousness come from? Eventually, we come to the place where we have no idea. So we call it don't know, a don't know mind. So don't know mind is before thinking, it's before I. This is really the most crucial step, because without this, everything is just a wonderful idea. We talk about love and compassion and helping this world, but we can't truly do that until we experience this point. So that's why we investigate our own suffering. And if you have done some meditation practice, you will see it come up. You will see your own judgments, your own opinions, your own likes and dislikes, your own discriminations. It's already there. Every human being has it. Now, everybody has their own way of expressing it. Don't get me wrong. Some people express this in very violent ways. Some people express it in fear. They go hide under a rock. Some people express it in power and control. The outside form looks different, but the suffering is exactly the same. So our job is to wake up and realize our true nature, realize our true self. Because only from there we start to see truth rather than judgments. Yeah, there's things that may bother us or are going to make us upset. That's just part of being a human being. But since we're seeing through it, we can see truth. And we make this in our 4 great vows. The first one is sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. We didn't say we vow to save certain people. That's how everybody thinks. It's my family, my friends. Everyone else can go to hell. My country. we said all beings. And the second vow is very interesting. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. We're making a vow. The way I like to rephrase that is we're making a vow to see through the delusions, because every moment there's a delusion appearing. Because if we can't see through it, we can't see truth. If we can't see truth, there's no way we can respond in a way that's clear and helpful. So, if we look out and we see the suffering of the world, we may get angry, we may get sad. That's energy that we can use to put into our practice. Direct that energy into the practice, investigating the suffering. It's motivation for me. You know, there's a saying, if a good situation's a bad situation, when everything's good, people, I don't have to practice. I don't have to do anything. I'm just going to relax. It's when the suffering, where you say shit hits the fan, it's like, oh, a lot of energy comes up. Use that energy in your practice to investigate the suffering. Then we can see truth. Then something else is possible. Okay? So try that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. This is our first live stream for the Quantum Zen Online Sangha. So if you have any questions, comments, put it in the chat below. John, you're still purple. I like that.
Well, you know, it asked me to free up 5 gigabytes of storage space, and I've got 127 free, so I don't know what to tell it.
Most likely it's a restart. The camera got kind of funky. Charles says, as a longtime member of the Kansas Zen Center, we began a hybrid practice about 2 months into the COVID shutdown. I discovered Quantum Zen Online only about 14 months ago, and has been a wonderful addition. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. And I think it's been a wonderful addition too. I know for me, it's I need it. I live about an hour away with no traffic from Empty Gate Zen Center. So it's very difficult to get over there. I probably get over there once a month. I do online interviews for Empty Gate on Sundays, but that's online. So I don't really have I don't have a place to practice either, or a physical space. We used to have a group here in Santa Clara, where I live, but we lost our space during the pandemic. So having the online option has been just crucial, I think. It's very important. You still purple, John?
I could try to restart it. That would be
no problem. Camilla, thank you for your teaching. You're welcome. Any last questions or comments before we go? It's been wonderful to see you all here. Thank you, everyone, for appearing. I had no idea, you know, when I do these things, especially when it's something that's for the first time, I didn't think anyone's going to show up. That would be John and I, maybe a couple other people. So I appreciate everyone coming and supporting this Quantum Zen Online YouTube channel and showing up. But if there's any last questions or comments, let us know. Otherwise, we can go. So I do want to maybe put a link to the online Sangha. I know some people have asked me about it in the last few days. So I'm going to put a link into the chat. This shows you a little bit about what it is. Obviously, the Quantum School of Zen is a kind of umbrella organization for all of our Zen centers we have around the world, probably somewhere over 100, 120 Zen centers. Some of them are very small, some of them are very large, some are residential, some are not. people mentioned, we do, some of our centers are streaming their practice online. But if you want to connect with the online Sangha, if you're needing extra support for your practice, I'd consider joining. It's a wonderful group of people. 2 streams and temples. You're most welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. Cool. Anything else? John, do you have anything else you want to say?
I don't know. I might get used to this purple. I think I'll see if I can find a filter for Zoom that does that. So.
This is your new thing. Yeah.
This is weird, but, you know, I just thank everybody for their practice again. And don't get too discouraged. I remember hearing Zen Master Daquan Sunim saying that enlightenment's not that big a deal. You probably have hundreds of enlightenment experiences every day. You just don't notice. I've always equated that to driving through traffic and hitting a string of green lights. You don't notice the green lights, but you notice the red ones.
Yeah, right. It's true.
So just keep, thank you for your practice, everybody, and keep it going.
Yeah. Just a few more comments here, and then we'll take off here. So let's see. Charles, as usual, the teaching's great. Thank you. Class, just thank you for what you said. Thank you. Janice, thank you. 2 streams. Love the purple. Hey, reminds me of Prince. There you go.
There you go.
Cesare, thanks a lot. Jay, I always appreciate the clarity of your teaching. Thank you. You're welcome, everyone. Thank you. And yeah, expect more of these things. This YouTube channel is brand new. Hopefully we're going to be, releasing just videos, of course, of our teachers that are helping the online Sangha. Sometimes it's difficult getting content for that. But we will continue these live stream Dharma talks. It seems like this is a good time, so I'm going to keep this in mind. John can remember this for me because he remembers more than I do. Tuesday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Also, I do have this interest in interviewing some of our teachers in the school. I know some people have read teachings from some of the teachers. I've heard things, but it would be interesting to kind of pick their brain out and how they got into practice and all that kind of stuff. So that's my idea anyways. We'll see how it goes. All right, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your practice. Have a clear day.